So there is some interesting, what is this, pre-news? Financial Times, which again is one of the mouthpieces of the elite, but nonetheless, Financial Times says CFTC to drop silver investigation. Now, they haven't said it yet, so I'm going to sit back and wait a day or two to hear it from the horse's mouth. But let's just, usually the Financial Times doesn't come out and just say something that doesn't happen like that. But you never know if they're just trying to fill us with some propaganda in the meantime. It's probably true, though. Let's see, where's it go? A 4-year investigation into the possible manipulation of this silver market looks increasingly likely to be dropped. So it looks increasingly likely to be dropped. What do you mean, yes or no? Financial Times, Bozo, Jack Farchi, and Gregory Meyer, or Mayer, however you pronounce your Bozo last name. Financial Times, London. Is it a yes or no? Silver market looks increasingly likely to be dropped. The manipulation investigation. So, did you talk to somebody and then a sources say? And did they say increasingly likely, or did they say we're going to drop the charges or the investigation? You got to look how they carefully word this garbage out of their mouths. All they had to go with is the standard procedure, right? Standard operating procedure of being a propaganda news agency. Matter of fact, it's number one. Always say, when regarding where you got the information from, because it's propaganda, always use the tagline, sources say. A source familiar with the matter. A high-ranking source who had to remain anonymous, etc. And I don't see that in here. All I see is a 4-year investigation into the possible manipulation of the silver market looks increasingly likely to be dropped. They don't usually use those words. So that's just odd, but whatever. Seems likely to be dropped after U.S. regulators failed to find enough evidence to support a legal case, according to there it is. According to 3 people familiar with the matter. Or with the situation. However, it still is odd that they are saying increasingly likely to be dropped. As if they're not going to say anything tomorrow, they're not going to say anything the next day, maybe it's the end of this month. By the time we fully hear what they have to say, I don't know what this garbage is. The Commodity Futures and Trading Commission, CFTC, announced that it was investigating, quote, complaints of misconduct in the silver market in September 2008, following a barrage of allegations of manipulation from a group of precious metals investors. In 2010, Bart Chilton, a CFT commissioner, said that he believed there had been, quote, fraudulent efforts to, quote, deviously control the silver price. But after taking advice from 2 external consultancies, the first of which found irregularities on certain trading dates that it believed deserved more analysis, CFTC staff did not have sufficient evidence to bring a case, according to the people familiar with the matter, or situation, actually. And I'm going to mention something I mentioned before that I've never heard anyone talk about, ever. When they first got that red flag thrown at them, from the whistleblower named Andrew McGuire. He called the CFTC personally, the enforcement division, 2 times and gave specific times they would crash the elite, JP Morgan, would crash the market, drop it down. I'm talking down to the minute. And the last call was like, all right, you ready? It's getting ready to happen. Okay. Another 15 seconds, boom. There's 12 o'clock, sharp, boom. Just like he said. So now they couldn't hide that there is manipulation, and they pretended that they looked and never find anything. Now, when you have a guy call you on the phone and tell you at an exact specific time and day, down to the minute, when it's going to happen, I don't care what you tell me you found. It's obvious at that point. So, I noticed after that whole story broke, and then immediately JP Morgan comes out, we're dismantling our trading division, silver, future, whatever, precious metals trading division. We have 10 traders on the London floors. We're shutting down shop, and instead of doing that, we're actually going to get into the business of storing people's or companies' gold and silver in our own vaults. Well, that's an interesting turn of events. It was pretty interesting, I thought, at the time. And then I noticed a story a little while later after the CFTC said we're going to look into this. I mentioned this before. Little blip on the radar of news. Just like on a local news type of thing. JP Morgan offices have small fire. Small office fire. Nothing else. Didn't talk about damage. Little small office fire. That's all. A week to 2 weeks later, approximately, I think it was 2 weeks, CFTC office has, quote, small office fire. So JP Morgan, the guy, the entity that we all know is manipulating it, the one the CFTC has just opened an investigation on, has a small office fire. And then a matter of weeks later, 2 weeks approximately, if my memory serves me correct, because it was a while ago, like 2 years or plus. Matter of fact, probably longer than that now. Anyways, same thing happens at a CFTC office. Well, which office? And what was in the office that got burned down? You don't think by chance there was investigative material that JP Morgan gave them, some of it, and the remainder that would be needed was still in the JP Morgan building that had the small office fire. And the CFTC, what they had on hand, was also in their office fire. Man. Just remember that. Because I think ultimately, one way or the other with this investigation, that's going to come out. Now, they're not going to probably just divulge that all of a sudden. I think it's going to take somebody asking them. CFTC, you said lack of, insufficient evidence. Someone's going to have to ask them, by chance, was any of the evidence you either had or wanting to get from JP Morgan on either side, your side or JP Morgan, did you guys have an office fire, or did JP Morgan have an office fire that contained possibly some relevant documentation or whatever that you guys were after? That's what it's probably going to take to hear the reasoning why. I don't think, and they might, but I don't think they're going to say part of our investigation was halted. We decided to kill the whole thing now because some good evidence we thought we had was lost in a little fire. And, sorry. They could say that. I just don't think they will until they're pressed. So, long story short, this is almost expected. I mean, I'll be shocked if this story doesn't follow through exactly as they say in the next day or two or soon, whatever. CFTC announcement, we're dropping. We didn't find anything. And the only way to really, I guess, if this is even possible, to press them, to force them to divulge what material do you have, we want to see it, would be to file a lawsuit against the CFTC. So I would be definitely for a class action or whatever type of lawsuit it would take against the CFTC and the CME Group and JP Morgan together to divulge the documentation we need to see that they are claiming doesn't show any kind of manipulation. That's what we should do. I would be down for it in a heartbeat. But it's going to take a lot of people and, some money, of course, to do that. I couldn't do it by myself. And even if people offered me right now, I'll give you some money to start. You couldn't give me enough money. I wouldn't be able to spend enough time. I don't have the knowledge on how to, handle a court case like that. I'd have to hire a lawyer. But I think the community, the silver community as a whole, including some big players, could do something like that. So what does this mean? This is funny. This is actually funny because it was a matter of hours ago before this story broke. And again, this is just the Financial Times claiming that's what the outcome's going to be. And more than likely, they're right. Why? Because of the reason I actually said hours ago before the story broke. The government, in their best interest, because they want the whole world to use paper money, backed by nothing, fiat currency is what that's called, and including us in America, you keep using our US dollar, you peasants. Don't be looking over there at gold and silver. We'll keep smashing the price because we don't want you to think that that's where you could actually make some money and save your financial livelihood at the very least. We need you to have the full faith in our system, paper fiat currency. How can we do that? We have to have an entity that does our bidding, our dirty work for us. Because if the day ever comes out that we're caught red-handed manipulating markets, especially silver and gold, because that is technically a competing currency against their paper fiat system, and the central bankers will fight tooth and nail to keep their paper fiat system and faith in that system. So we can't have other people focusing over here on gold and silver to say, hey, why are those prices up so high compared to a few years ago? Even right now with the manipulation, the prices are way high compared to a few years ago. So we will let another entity, a privately owned company, such as, I don't know, JP Morgan and some other friends, manipulate the prices of silver for us. And anytime JP Morgan gets into trouble financially, too big to fail, we'll be there to bail them out. Because they're doing this for us, we would never not bail them out, because if we did, then they would expose us. We're not going to have that. We're all part of the club, so let's be on page here between JP Morgan and the federal government, which means JP Morgan has a lifetime get-out-of-jail-free card. So, again, Drake, Wilcock, in Fulford, mass arrest, no matter who, what, when, where, or why, of any kind of arrest, should it ever occur in the future, and it's not, like you're talking about, it's not going to happen, hasn't happened, still, etc. Where you guys at with that? You were lying to everybody. So, of course, I was right, but I took a beating from all their subscribers telling me I was an idiot, I didn't have faith, I didn't have hope. You're right. I don't have faith that there'll be arrests. I don't have hope that there'll be arrests. And clearly, I'm right, because they haven't been. We've had 2 or 3 different dates given for mass arrests of bankers, top-level guys. None of it's happened. And if you think for 1 second you're going to see JP Morgan or high-level executives at JP Morgan, not fall guys, not these traders might get charged with LIBOR scandal. Traders? Who? Guys you never even heard of. Patsies. We got to put the blame on somebody, right? That's what they're talking about, traders. Not the guys at the top. Because when the day the government gets busted, or would have gotten busted, for manipulation in the silver and gold and all kinds of other markets, you're going to find out that, no, don't even look over there. JP Morgan to be charged today for, they took it as long as they could. They finally have to expose it. JP Morgan's going to be charged today. The company with manipulating the markets, silver and gold. Finally, it took 50 million years to come out. Hey, got him. And who's at fault? Was Jamie Dimon? Nope. It was traders. Traders who didn't have authority to do what they did. Traders were manipulating the market for their financial gain. And we did not see this at upper management because we're so busy, our company's so huge, just, our internal auditing didn't catch it. So we'll pay some fines to the government and CFTC and Security and Exchange Commission for doing nothing, not regulating. But we're going to pay fines to them, again, pennies on the dollar, and we won't manipulate the market anymore. And then the government looks great because the government went after them, made them pay that fine. So the government was never manipulating the markets. It was just JP Morgan. JP Morgan and the other banks, the too big to fails specifically, all of them. If they got a bailout, they're automatically included. Put it to you that way. If they got a bailout, they are in this club. And that club is doing the bidding of our federal government until the timing is right for the world currency to come out after all the paper fiat currencies are destroyed, backed by nothing, of course, and the World Bank, IMF, and those guys, the world's terrible right now. And it was all due to this debt. We thought we could fix it. We tried what the central bankers did. We tried with the ECB and the IMF and all. We tried to bail out, but at the end of the day, guys, it was just paper, unbacked money. And we just got ourselves into more debt by doing it. It just did not work. So we think we have a solution here. As a matter of fact, not think. They won't use the word think. We know we have a solution. The same way they knew they had a solution by bailing out the banks in 2008, that this would be fixed. And that was a lie. And everything in Europe right now is now blowing up in their face as a lie because they said it would work, but it's not, etc. they're still going to come out and tell you, our solution will fix this. And our solution is a gold-backed currency that we provide through the IMF. And our currency is pegged to gold and silver. Well, that's not a bad idea. You know, our government's not doing that. And man, they've got thousands of tons of it. That sounds good to me. No one's going to sit back and say, well, how the hell did this entity, which isn't even in the government, doesn't have taxing ability to generate revenue, how the hell did they get all this gold and silver? Well, you know, back in 08, 09, 2010, all that stuff, and we were talking about the IMF and all these guys pitching in. Well, all of the countries gave their money to the IMF because the IMF is the do-good. It's not, but that's what they said. The do-good entity that's going to fix everything. And they needed a way and means to do that, so we all pitched in to give money to the IMF. But wait a minute. How did they get the gold? Because if they used all that money we all gave it, right, to help fix countries, which it didn't fix, therefore the money just got wasted, that means they didn't have much left, if any left, to go out and buy gold and silver. So how did these guys get all this gold and silver? I don't think anyone's going to ask that question, at least on the mainstream. How did they get all this gold and silver when this takes place, by the way? Could it be the end of the year? Absolutely. Could it be into next year sometime? Absolutely. I don't know. Again, all I can go by is what I see. I'm not a fly on the wall. No one is. Lindsey Williams is a phenomenal source. I'm telling you, I've been following the guy since 2007. Maybe his timing could be off a little bit from time to time, and just like I've been saying lately, is exactly what he said. Syria, Libya threw him off 9 months. Now, if it was me, I would have called the elitist friend of his back. So, you know, I appreciate you telling me that y'all are 9 months off, but does that still mean the dollar and the other crisis that you're talking about at the end of the year, financial crisis, is that still on like Donkey Kong? No, because the 9 months, or yes, it's still coming on, but we're still 9 months behind with the rest of it. Could go either way. So, this might make you upset about the CFTC investigation if the Financial Times is right and the CFTC comes out here shortly and says, yeah, we're dropping the investigation. But at the end of the day, what would it have meant if they found that JP Morgan did manipulate the markets? As a matter of fact, we just heard the entire world's interest rates affected by the LIBOR scandal. Breaking news, all the too big to fail banks, once again, rigging those markets. Caused trillions of dollars worth of, well, not caused, but it engulfs hundreds of trillions of dollars when they adjust those little rates for everything. So if we're hearing about that right now, and we hear about this right now, right? Or let's pretend the CFTC found JP Morgan guilty. Oh my God, this conspiracy silver guys were right. Then what happens to the price of silver? Does it go up? Does it go down? Well, let's look at LIBOR. They were busted. They were caught. They all said it now. There's no way out of it. LIBOR scandal, you guys are busted. Let me ask you. Did the stock market go crazy up or something? No, it hasn't done anything because of that news. Did it go crazy down and get destroyed? No. It goes back up 200 points, goes down 200 points. Goes up 250, goes down 250. Sometimes in one day, sometimes in a week. So that LIBOR news, which should be earth-shattering on all markets across the world, didn't even go out with a whimper. It wasn't even a whimper. It was nothing. This business as usual. So why would any of us think that if this came out that they're manipulating the market, that all of a sudden silver prices should go skyrocketing? It's still controlled by paper. The price is still set by paper, which is the COMEX price, right? They're caught red-handed, so what? Do they have to give up their short position? Do they have to get out of the market? Or are they just going to pay a little fine if they were caught? And this CFTC says, yeah, they're caught. Maybe they'll pay a little fine. Yeah, you guys did it we caught you 2 times or whatever. In 4 years, you're going to have to pay a fine. And promise you won't do it again. And we're going to be looking at you. But now that the whistleblower is out of that, they're probably thinking, no one else is going to blow the whistle. We'll just let them get right back in. Again, because JP Morgan has to do the government's bidding. It's deeds. This actually, believe it or not, the investigation, believe it or not, doesn't change anything. So some people may be really pissed off right now about this. I'm not. It doesn't matter one way or the other. This does not change one way or the other at all. In other words, if they came out and said that they're caught, or they come out and say we're dropping the investigation, it doesn't change the fundamentals that brought silver from $4 and $5 an ounce several years ago to $28 to $50 to $40 to $30 to right now $27, $28. That doesn't change. And again, I've said this, even with hitting 50 and back down to 27, 28, it was $4 and $5 several years ago. Is this the best these elitists can do? They've got to be fighting tooth and nail to keep the prices where they are. And they are. Clearly they are. Trying to keep those damn prices down. And man, they are struggling. Every time it dips to 26 for a second, boom. Big players jump in and scoop it up. Again, paper, but nonetheless, that's pushing the price. So, I mean, you have to understand something. Out of all the commodities out there, I can almost guarantee you, and maybe I'll include oil because oil is definitely something they manipulate the world with. I'll include gold, silver, and oil in one little basket of major manipulation. And the way that they can do it easier is if they are allowed many times over the physical amount of gold, silver, and oil that's on the market on any given day, at any given time. If they're allowed to have all these paper contracts in excess of like 100 to 1, not 10 to 1, which is the normal kind of thing, but like 100 to 1, 200 to 1. Just turn the printer on high speed, right? This little water bottle represents a real physical water bottle. And I'm going to print 10 pieces of paper and put them out on the market as futures contract for anyone to buy up. And all of them think, technically, that I've got 10 of these because, for God's sakes, I printed 10 pieces of paper that says quantity 10. One times on each, but there's 10 of them. And ultimately, there's only one of these. And those people reserve the right at any time to say, here's the rest of the money to buy the full contract out and give me that water bottle. But I know as a banker, nobody ever does that, because who the hell is going to ask for demand a delivery of a barrel of oil? We can't even really do it. I mean, I guess they can, but you have a barrel of oil, several barrels of oil delivered to your garage, refined or unrefined. Jesus Christ. I mean, it's not going to happen. So they naturally would know we can do anything we want with the paper. Forget 10 to 1. Go 100 to 1. Go 500 to 1. Who cares? If anyone asks for delivery, we just keep a tiny little stock. We'll be able to put those little fires out, no problem. And they do the same thing with gold and silver. So, if we're at $27 silver right now, and I don't care if they smash it again because it's going to go back up. Right now, $27, let's call it. And they have 100 or 200 to 1 of these pieces of paper representing one of the real thing. That shows the whole world that, well, there must be a massive amount of silver and gold. Therefore, the price is where it's at, $27 for silver. Because they have all this silver. I mean, look at all the contracts they have out there. Those contracts represent physical silver, so there is a supply and demand, no issue there. Matter of fact, there's plenty of supply, to tell you the truth. But the real truth, and this isn't conspiracy here, this is known facts, is that we know they're leveraged massively, at least minimally 100 to 1, 100 pieces of paper to one real thing. Therefore, the price of this old bottle, right, is 100 times less than what it probably should be. If that's the simple math, and they're claiming they have 100 to 1 of these contracts, in other words, all the contracts that equal however many millions of ounces, hundreds of millions of ounces of silver that they claim they've got, and they don't have it, as long as that piece of paper claims it, and as long as they can put those little fires out, so to speak, when people demand delivery every now and then the whole world thinks we have this massive supply of silver and everything's good. When the day comes, and it has to come, when there's delays, delivery delays, and it's known about, and everyone's talking about it, people who called their broker and start recording it, listen, I'm demanding delivery. Well, it's going to take about a month to get that to you. A month? I got the money in the account now. I want it now. How about a week or two? No, it's going to take a month. Right? When you start to hear people say, I'm not reading news, I physically called my broker or clearinghouse, whoever they went through, and demanded delivery, paid the contract, and now I'm waiting. It's not supposed to happen. That will be the telltale sign that the party's over. Now, is it possible that the elite will, of course, know in advance when that's coming, because they're the ones who are right in it, manipulating everything? They'll know when that day's coming, when those shortages come, and maybe coincidentally there'll be some kind of big event that shuts the markets down. Another 9/11 or another something shuts the markets down. Oh my God. And without the markets, even though we can look in your account and you do have that full amount of money to buy your contract out, your full 5,000 ounces of silver contract, we can't negotiate this sale to go through, or whatever, this sale to go through to the clearing member, whatever, to get the silver, because the markets are down. We don't know how long they're going to be down. So what about my money? Well, we can give you your money back. Yeah, but I bought in when this contract was when silver was way cheap. Now it's expensive. I want the contract price. Therefore, here's the rest of the money. I want my silver. Yeah, but it's gonna be a big delay. How long? Not sure. Maybe a month. And then what happens if they decide to keep their money in there? MF Global Part 3, MF Global Part 4, MF Global Part 5. Gone, 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 gone. Your money, gone, 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 gone. Your paper contract, gone, 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 gone. Sue us. Have a nice day. Oh, you want help from the regulators? Oh, you want the CME group who said that they would insure these things to actually insure them? Nah. I know he said it on TV live in front of everybody, but no, they're not going to. Matter of fact, if you think they should, sue them too. Just tie it all up in court for years. That'll probably work out for you. So the end result is still the same. Artificial supply that they claim they have tons of it, and they don't. That has to come home to roost sooner or later. Every day that it doesn't, and the prices remain manipulated low, is what I call a J-snip for bonus. You get cheap silver now, and in a little extended period. And you know what's interesting? Tomorrow's the 6th. Today's the 5th. Margin hike, 35%. I've heard nothing. I've heard nothing. Except 11% drop in margins to play the silver, specifically silver-only game. Drop in initial and maintenance margins, both 11%. It wouldn't make sense for them to do that, as I said in the other video, and then turn around on Monday or Tuesday and say, oh yeah, by the way, all commodities are getting hit with a 35% margin hike. This would be absurd. Of course, these people are sick and absurd, so I guess it could happen. But I just wanted to touch on this. This means nothing. This is actually, I'm not even up. Oh, damn it. I knew that was going to happen. No. This is exactly what's supposed to happen. During this cycle, during the exposing of all this is exactly what's supposed to happen. And by the way, I'm going to leave you with one final thing that has nothing to do with this. That's still important. We heard of the 7 people dead shooting in Wisconsin, right? At this religious center. One of the people shot was a father, the son, the father of the son. Of course, that makes sense, doesn't it? The son of this guy who was shot, and I think he was killed, was a head producer of the, I don't know what the title of the film is, but it's like the Disclosure Project. I'm sure you heard of the guys about that, where they're trying to disclose, what's out in the solar system, whether it's ET and all that stuff. They have a massive documentary. The guy's been threatened and threatened and threatened. They're getting ready to release this. Like, it's coming out soon. It's already done, apparently. And they went and got his father and killed him. Oh, no, that's conspiracy. Just another wacko went into this particular church, shot up some people, and happened to get that one guy out of hundreds of people. That guy was one of them. Father of the guy with the Disclosure Project who was being threatened by the government not to release it. And inside the documentary is, they talk about just such an occurrence of how the government threatens you and does stuff just like that to intimidate you. They won't kill you, but they'll kill your father, your son, your daughter, whatever, your wife, to stop you from doing stuff. It's actually in the documentary, and I posted this on my website. It is stickied at the top, so if you go to realistnews.net, you should see it stickied right there at the top. Having said that, that's all I got for you, and man, is 2012 a buzz with all kinds of interesting events and news.